Welcome back to Cooking with Nana. I know it's been a while. So today we're going to do Amish white bread. And I forgot to press start on the camera, so I don't have a picture of the ingredients for that. But it's 1 cup water, 1 cup milk, and 2/3 cup sugar. And you want to dissolve that sugar in the milk and water. And you want to get this up to temp by microwaving it a little at a time until it reaches 110 degrees. Actually, go about 112 because it'll cool off just a little bit while you're getting everything prepared. I'm just using a candy thermometer, popping it in the microwave again. And then I'm going to go ahead, once it gets to 110 degrees, I'm going to go ahead and pour it into my mixing bowl. And you want to add 1.5 teaspoons of active yeast. There's one. And then I didn't cut the hole big enough for the second packet. So I have to cut it and try again. There we go. And then give that a good old swirl. Get it nice and mixed up. And you want to cover that with saran wrap, or I use Glad Press and Seal. And then put a tea towel over it and put it in a dark, warm place so it can rise. I usually just pop it into my oven, uh, mainly just to make sure it doesn't get messed with. So about 8 to 10 minutes, or until the yeast gets really, really foamy. Cover that up. Next, you want to dial out a 1/4 cup coconut oil. And you want to melt this, but you don't want to make it hot. So depend on your microwave, go every 10 seconds until it gets down to a liquid form. And you can even have a little few bits in it. That's not going to hurt anything. You just don't want to overheat it because the temperature would kill the yeast. I just stir that up real careful. And then I've prepared 5.5 cups of bread flour, and to that I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt and get it really good and mixed in with the flour. I don't add it directly to the yeast mixture because salt will kill yeast. And 1.5 in, and give that a good stir. And sorry for framing it in this way, but I was trying to make use of the space here in the camper. It gets a little difficult. So once your 8 to 10 minutes is up with the yeast, you can go ahead and uncover it. And look at that. It's nice and foamy. And you want to add about a cup of the prepared flour. And add in your coconut. Charlie wanted to come in and say hi. Of course, I had to stop and get him out of there. But go ahead and mix that up really, really good. You can use a fork and kind of smoosh the little bits apart so it comes into like just a nice roux. Just makes it a little easier to start combining all your ingredients if you do that first. Go ahead and put your kneading attachment on. If you don't have a stand mixer, it's fine. You can do this all by hand. It is a little bit more labor intensive when you do it by hand, but it can still be done. And then I didn't speed up this section because I kind of wanted you to see about how long it takes to add in the flour. And you want to add it in about a cup at a time. And if you need to stop the mixer and kind of scrape down the sides, go for it. That's fine to do as well. And I gotta tell you, when you're making bread, your whole house just smells so amazing. And it just gets you so yummy. You just can't wait for that bread to pop out of the oven. This can get messy too, so take your time adding it in. I need to see they've got these little things that you stick on the sides of your bowls that kind of acts like a chute so that you don't have to worry about getting all your stuff everywhere. And of course, I think with one of these, I add it and the beater kind of like pops the flour out. And you really don't want to go any faster than this. That was another reason why I didn't speed it up because I didn't want people turning on their stand mixer on high. And then, yeah, that that would be not good. I speeded up later, but for this part, I didn't. And you would do the same if you were mixing this by hand. You'd want to do a little at a time. And I'm going to go ahead and speed it up now that all the flour is in there. And you're looking for when it starts to pull away from the sides. Um, keep another quarter cup of flour handy. I'll use up to a quarter cup, pushing it if I have to put in a half. Uh, but you want it to pull away from the sides really nicely. So you'll want to add up to another half cup max, but I think I just do a quarter cup here. You can see it kind of grab a little bit. And I probably could have added another quarter cup. Uh, it just might have made it a little bit easier to work with up until I go to start kneading it. And then you just want to turn your stand mixer on. I've sped this up. That is not an increase in the speed of the mixer. I've sped up the video. So just go ahead and let the machine do the work for 5 to 7 minutes, getting that all nice and melded together. Okay, so that's real time. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my dough out. And you're gonna want to have another mixing bowl, or in this case, I use my stock pot. Grease it down, oil it down so that you can add your dough to it so it can rise. And I do apologize that it went out of frame here coming up. Like I said, I was trying to do the best I could with the space that I had. And it will be sticky, and that's fine. But my first time trying to dump it into a pot, it's a fail. It wants to stick. So got to get in there and scrape it out a little bit. That's all I'm doing is just scraping it away from the sides. And then make sure it's nicely coated with oil. I use olive oil. Or if you want to melt some extra coconut oil, you can use that as well. Just kind of get it nice and covered. And kind of give it a little bit of shape. It doesn't even really matter at this point why I shape it. I don't know why I do it, but I did and do. So then I'll go ahead and recover that pot up with a saran wrap and cover it with tea towel. And we're going to let this rise. I let it rise in my oven. That way it doesn't get messed with. And set your alarm for a minute and 1 hour and 30 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't know why I do 30 seconds, but um, there we go. And if you don't use your alarm, you can let the dough rise a little longer, but you can over rise your dough or overproof the dough or whatever they say. But after your timer goes off, then you're ready to start working the dough. And I do my second knead by hand, mainly because I have found that the yeast actually activates better with the warmth of my hands and being worked rather than with just the beater attachment to the stand mixer. And flour it down a little bit and then just start working it. Um, you can push and pull and then kind of roll it onto itself. But here's a couple examples so that if you've never made bread before, now you can learn how to knead. And you want to do this for about 5 to 7 minutes. And of course, I made a couple cuts and sped it up, so it's not going to be a total 5 to 7 minutes in video time. And so take your time, pause your video if you need to, and just work it for that 5 to 7 minutes. And while you're doing that, the dough will start heating up just a little bit, enough to activate the yeast for the second rise. And then once I'm done kneading it, I do my best to divide it exactly in half. And you can start working each half separately. And while I was waiting for the dough to rise, I went ahead and prepared 2 bread pans with, I used the Pam baking spray for that, or you could use olive oil or regular Pam, whatever you like. And I just play with it and get it to the size I kind of want for the bread pan. And it'll be bouncy when you put your little finger through it a little bit. Kind of almost like playing with Play-Doh. I won't buy the grandkids Play-Doh. I'll just buy them, or I'll just make bread dough and let them go to town, do the work for me. Just kind of shape it a little bit. And then repeat the process with the second loaf. So I'm just going to speed that up. I actually have 2 sizes of bread pans, and I should have used my normal size. These are a little oversized for the recipe, so it doesn't look like they've risen as much. Uh, Next time I'll have to use the right size pan. This step is optional. It's just what I do because it makes it really, really yummy. So I use about 2 tablespoons of butter. I just kind of lightly melt that in the microwave and then just kind of pour it over the dough for the rise. You can either do it now or you can do it before you put it in the oven, or you can do it when it comes out of the oven, whatever you choose to do. And there you go. Now you're ready for your second rise. And you don't use saran wrap this time, just a tea towel. There again, I have it on a cookie sheet and I'm going to put it in the oven. All right, guys, so the bread is done. I'm rising, so we're going to go ahead and get it into the oven. So trying to do this, and I can't hold the hold this all at the right time or at the same time, so we'll figure something out. So I'm going to put it in for 30 minutes and check it out, see if it's done, see if it's good to go. It's always kind of a, doing it in an RV camper is not always ideal. So I can't wait till I get into the tiny house and I have a full kitchen to do this in. So while I'm waiting on the bread, I'm going to go ahead and throw together a blueberry pie for the guys. And the deal was they'd run and grab some ice cream. And I would make a blueberry pie for blueberry pie a la mode for dessert. So I'll take a picture or a video of that later. Bye. And it's done and it's out of the oven and it just looks amazing and it tastes just as amazing also. So that's making the white bread. Thanks for coming along and cooking with Nana.